and today I will be doing a presentation in reference to lead poisoning and the effects it has on children and their learning abilities. In the news lately, we've been hearing a lot in reference to lead and it contaminating the drinking water in areas such as Flint, Michigan, and Newark, New Jersey school districts. And this has been something that's really important that's going on lately. So, do we really understand what the consequences are in reference to the children that's actually drinking this contaminated drinking water that's contaminated with lead? Today, I'm going to be speaking in reference to lead poisoning and the effects on learning abilities. But first, I wanted to touch briefly on what lead is, how you get lead poisoning, and how it affects children's learning abilities. So, what is lead? For the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, lead is a natural element that's found deep within the ground. It's known on the periodic table as Pb, and it also can be found in other areas such as older homes and buildings, cosmetics such as lipsticks and lip gloss, lead plumbing pipes, and batteries, just to name a few. But did we know that these things can actually cause lead poisoning and accumulation over a period of time? Now you may be asking, what is lead poisoning? Lead poisoning is a buildup of toxic lead, usually over a period of months to years, that can cause damage to the human body, including the brain. Lead is a neurotoxin, which means it's dangerous for the brain. For the Center for Disease Control, no amount of lead is safe. However, when levels are as low as 5 micrograms per deciliter of blood, the effects on lead poisoning starts by causing damage to children and their brain, particularly their learning development. So, to get a better understanding of these units of a microgram and a deciliter, a microgram is 1/1,000,000th of a gram. So think of the size of an equal packet. That equal packet has 1 gram of the sweetener inside of it, and 1/1,000,000th of that is 1 microgram. And in reference to the deciliter, a deciliter is 1/10 of a liter, and to make it more user-friendly, it's about 4 ounces. So has anyone ever seen like the Mott's applesauce cups? That's about 4 ounces. So all you need is 5 micrograms per deciliter, and you start having effects of lead poisoning affecting your brain. That's like ridiculous how microscopic and small that is. Okay, so how do you get lead poisoning? Lead poisoning can be inhaled through the air, absorbed through the skin, and ingested via mouth. Per an article on Springer Science and Business, lead gets into the body 50% of the time via inhalation, and 10 to 15% of the time via ingestion by mouth, and the other 35% is ingested and transferred into the body other ways, including absorption through the skin. Children are more susceptible between the ages of 1 and 5 years old to end up getting lead poisoning because they tend to touch things that can be contaminated with lead, or put these things in their mouths or their fingers in their mouths, transferring the lead inside of their bodies, which in turn gets the lead inside of their bodies through their bloodstream and eventually to their brain. Okay, so per the World Health Organization, children's bodies absorb 4 to 5 times more lead than adults. Now this is usually because children are deficient in minerals such as iron and zinc and calcium. So it makes it easier for their bodies to absorb the lead and pretty much make them sick and affect their learning abilities, their brains, and all types of other things within their bodies. Okay, so what are the lead effects on children's brains? According to the World Health Organization, lead affects children's brain development, resulting in reduced intelligence quotient, or IQ, behavior changes such as shortened attention span, increased antisocial behavior, and reduced educational attainment. Children's brains are rapidly growing between the ages of 0 and 6 years old, so because of this and their exposure to lead, it can cause them to have learning disabilities, behavior problems, and low IQ. So the effects that happens because of lead poisoning are completely irreversible. Once you start affecting your brain with lead poisoning, you can't reverse it at all. So how does lead affect the brain in learning? Per a study performed by Johns Hopkins School of Public Health on rat pups and lead toxicity, it was reported by Dr. Galerte, a professor of environmental health sciences, that lead is a potent inhibitor of N-menthol diaspartate NMDA receptor. Now this is a protein that's known to play an important role in the brain in development and in cognition skills. In this study, they demonstrated that lead exposure decreases the amount of NMDA receptor gene in a protein in part of the brain called the hippocampus. This change is associated with impairments of nerve communication and in the brain and learning. Dr. Nihai of Johns Hopkins School of Public Health, she's also there with Dr. Galerte. She indicates that they believe by decreasing the MDA receptors that it's interfering with calcium's entry into the neurons to be properly transmitted. So pretty much what it's saying is that the calcium that usually goes through the MDA receptors to be processed into the neurons and neurotransmitters, the lead is actually stopping it and blocking it from happening, which is what causes the learning disabilities and the memory issues. This is noteworthy since calcium is responsible for a huge cascade of cellular signals that ultimately propagate information and continue the nerve impulse onto the next synapses and neuron. So, in conclusion, lead can be found just about anywhere. It causes more damage to good to the public health, and mainly in children between the ages of 0 and 6 years old, due to their rapid brain development and absorption of lead into their bodies. So when lead blocks the calcium entry in neurons in the hippocampus, which is the portion of the brain that manages cognitive and learning abilities, it interferes with learning and causes memory difficulties in children. So due to its irreversible effects caused by lead getting into the brain, we should take precautionary measures to ensure that our children, brothers, sisters, and loved ones are not affected and poisoned by lead. That's it.